Hi, my name is Chris Oshvini. What I want to take you through today, very briefly, is a little program that I've written. It's called crplots.com. It runs inside a browser and it allows you to do some analysis of your running data on Strava. So it requires that you upload your data to Strava, but once you authenticate crplots.com, it shows you some analysis of your running data. And I want to very quickly show you some of the features that are available. Okay, so here we are in Windows Chrome running in an incognito session so I can do the full login process for you. And this is the page you get to if you just type in crplots.com. What you'll see is before you authenticate your own Strava account against it, you can click on this Access Christoph's Training button. And if you do, you get a little bit of a view of the sort of plots that you can see in the software. There are a number of traces here. This is the graph page. There's a slider at the top and a few buttons as well. And you can see your daily distance plotted here together with the blue line, which is a rolling 56-day average. There are fields or traces here for speed, heart rate efficiency, net heart rate efficiency, and then this prediction of marathon performance published by Giovanni Tanda back in 2011. So that's the prediction from your historical data. And what you might notice here, this has got all of my data going back to 2011. So there are something like 5,000 individual bits of running data which make up this plot. And then at the bottom here, you can see the rate of improvement of your predicted performance. After a bit of a layoff, I've just started running, so I can show you the effect of pressing one of these buttons in here. It's the display 56 days. If I press that, then it just zooms in the time base to the last 56 days of running. And you can see that I've really just started running again here back on the 30th of April. So I'm coming back from a rather low level of fitness, and I think I'm around about 3 hour 50 marathon runner. So off my best, but that's what you get with just a few weeks worth of training. You can display the last year's worth of data. You can scroll in and zoom in if you like at different points of time to see what my training looked like here running up in 2015 to I think what was my best performance. But anyway, there are scroll bars here for restricting the date ranges that are plotted. And then there's also a slider here so you can change the prediction window, but maybe more about that later. Let's go back to the opening page here and let's authenticate it against, in this case, my own data set again, so you can see the other features that are available. So you just click on See Your Training and then I'll actually log in using Facebook. This is authenticating against my Strava account and I'll just authorize it. You'll get a page like this. For me, it's got nearly 4,600 activities already synchronized into the database. For you, if this is the first time you've authenticated, it'll take a little bit of a while to pull in your running data, but it shouldn't take too long. So you'll see now we've got a range of different buttons at the top here of things you can actually see. And let's start here with this button at the bottom labeled Graphs. So if we click on that, it pulls up exactly the same plot that you just saw, but now there are a few more things that are visible. In particular, down here, there is a link to this page which is dynamically updated. So for you, when you authenticate like this, you can share the link that's down here to allow other people to see your training graphs. There are some interesting different colorations to these graphs. The reds here showing marathon races, the blues showing other things that are labelled as races, but we can go into that at a later date. There's another button here called Activities, and we click on this. You can see this is a list of all of the activities that you've done. It's actually a really long list, but you'll see there are some summary statistics. It tells you how long ago these activities were, the date on which they occurred, the start time, and in fact there's a link here. These are hyperlinks, so you can very quickly link to and see those, go to those events. It tells you also the duration, the pace, elevation, the beats per minute, and indeed the running efficiency and the meters that you cover per heart beat. Obviously the title, and then the value of that training expressed as a Tanda day. There are a few other check boxes as well. We can go through that later. So what else is visible here besides the activities and the graphs? Well, there is this button labelled Clean. It's a fairly safe button to click, but what it does is it filters out a few of the odd data points that you might have. That is, runs that are in fact walks that are very slow, or ones where your heart rate really doesn't make any sense, or the elevation is somewhat odd. You'll notice if it's had an effect by it turning off some of these flags here. You can see it's turned off this flag for my heart rate here, and that was on a presumably very slow run that I did with my wife. I think it's 7 minutes a kilometre, and the heart rate there, whilst it makes some sense, it's on the whole pretty slow, and it's removed. So they get switched off for a range of different reasons that I've programmed in algorithmically, and I can go through a bit more of that if you want. There's the marathons button here. What that's doing at the moment is it's going through the database, it's identifying marathon distance races that I've done and then plotting them against the Tanda prediction. Here's the plot for my marathon performances. Again, there are a few sliders that you can play around with. Those are the duration of the Tanda predictive window. 8 weeks was what he published as the value you should use. And you can also select, if you like, a pre-race taper as well. And here you can see the fit that I've got here. I'm not quite sure why that race was selected here, but I generally get a reasonably good correlation between my marathon performance and the Tanda prediction. You can turn the races on and off here. You can also turn them on here by clicking on the data points, and go back historically and see how well the equation, Tanda's equation, correlates with your training. Obviously, if you haven't got your training recording, then it made no sense, or if you're doing your training by other means, such as cross-training of different sorts, then the prediction isn't going to be great. But it gives you an idea as to how far away you are from Tanda's prediction. It might help you plan in the future for a marathon as to what sort of race pace you might be able to go with a certain training, or how much training to do to end up with a certain race pace. Whilst we're on the races here, there's another button up here called Races, and what that does is it plots out other race performances at the distances against the prediction. And in this case, it's using the Rigel formula, which is a way of pulling one performance at one distance and making a prediction as to what the performance would likely be at another distance. So you can see it's really quite good. It would look good because, of course, shorter distances are going to take less time. So the whole thing is going to necessarily look like a reasonably good function. And you can see that plotted out on the bottom graph in another form as well. Anyway, we can go through that again later as well. There's a splits analysis, which allows you to take certain runs that you've done and plot them out in terms of the speed versus heart rate profile and the decline in efficiency with distance. And indeed, using the shift key, you can select multiple runs that you've done to add them together. This is taking the individual kilometre splits and plotting them out. So it gives you a value of your zero speed heart rate, that is your heart rate that you would have if you were in the same physiological state as running, but of course not running at any speed at all. So it's a sort of theoretical construct, but it tells you a little bit about the state of your circulatory system. And it also gives you a measure of your robustness. So you can see here, in this case, my robustness comes out as minus 5.1. That is, for every kilometre further that I run, I'm travelling 5 millimeters less per heartbeat. So it's a measure of the decline in robustness, and you can use the set variables button to apply that level of robustness to your runs to enable you to calculate net heart rate efficiency. But anyway, that again is something that we can go into at a later date. Now, what's the last button here that I want to show you? And that's the training intensity, and that's a pseudo color plotted bar. There are a few different bars plotted on this graph. If we look at the one on the top left here, that is over the last 56 days. It is the training intensity that you're working at. And here you can see where I started running again. Down at the bottom here of the graph is the 1 day running intensity, and at the top of the plot here is the 56-day running intensity. So the duration of the intensity goes upwards as you travel up. So you can see my 56-day load up here is not very high. It's a green colour. The scale is on the right here. And you can see that my short-term intensity here is quite high. So I'm training at the moment really rather intensely, but I've only been doing that for a 2-week period. The full training plot is shown down in this red bars here. And you can see actually my current over here is scaled now relative to my highest and lowest intensity periods. So you can see what I'm doing at the moment might look like it's intense, but historically it's not terribly intense. Some of my most intense training blocks were done over here in 2015, and you can see I built up to a relatively high training load. There is also the relative training stress as well, and that's now over I think a 3-week period here, and you can see that plotted on a scale of the minutes and seconds faster than the marathon fitness that you're actually at, and you can see that plotted out historically as well. I think I'll need a bit of a longer video to explain this in more detail and how it actually works and you can use it. There is a button here that you won't get up, and this is the training plan. I have the ability to load in previous trainings as a future training plan so that you can plan the sort of runs that you might need to do to reach a fitness, either using a theoretical model or using some past training that you've done, but that's not quite ready to show you yet. And there is also the virtual race leaderboard, which I can't show you because it shows you other people's performances. But if you sign up, then it's something that you'll be able to see, but you'll need to sign up to the site to do that. Anyway, those are the main features of CR Plots. Please feel free to authenticate your account against it if you want to look and see what's on there, and then maybe if you want a little bit more information about one of the features, I can take you through it in a little bit more detail. But anyway, that's it for now.